I was going to say, you do realise mine is the generation of the vinyl hipster, right?
Right now, I'm looking at a new Walker for myself, so vinyl's completely out of the question, mate. Hello, and welcome to the very first RMW Rock My World podcast. I'm Tony. I'm in Massachusetts. We got Mike over there in Leeds in England. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good, Tony. And yourself?
Lovely. And we've got our boy in Chicago, Chuck. How you doing, brother?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Awesome. Let's just start this conversation with something that has been bugging me for days and days. The Universal music group Fire. Chuck, you've been in the music business long enough. What about that?
It's very interesting because I wonder, as I read through the articles and their responses, I wonder how much stuff has actually been archived digitally. They don't really get into that. They say we've lost masters, but
yeah,
I look at a lot like Nirvana. All their stuff's been remastered and re-released. So that has to tell me that those files have been modernized.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they say in their statement, they say tens of thousands of back catalogue recordings that we've already issued in recent years. So they're basically covering their asses as of now. They know it's coming. I mean, the lawsuits have to be coming, surely.
I would think most modern stuff has been, digitally archived. I don't know. I mean, Frank Sinatra's records have been re-released and remastered. So do they have that digitally saved?
Well, but here's the big problem is with modern rock and roll, which is our bread and butter at Rock My World is new rock and rock of the last, I don't know, let's call it 40 years, 50 years. Soundgarden, do you think that the report is that all of their masters are gone? Now, all of them, I don't know, but what
have they digitally archived those masters? You know what I mean? Like, do we have copies of them? A lot of times in the studio, I'm taking 2-inch multi-tracks and getting them bounced into Pro Tools, and then we don't give a crap about the 24 track.
Yeah, but I mean, even this stuff gets lost occasionally. I know, it happens across other industries as well, wasn't it? Like Square Enix lost Final Fantasy VII or something. It's like, and that was of course a massive game. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Universal have lost several of the digital copies from when they did start archiving things. Well,
it's got to kill you, Mike, because I think the Soundgarden album came out the day you were born. Oh, sorry, I'm just pointing out, Mike. You're a young'un, but you know your music, which we love. But yeah, you've got Soundgarden, Nirvana. These for a certain genre, let's call it the grunge genre. If they're gone, they're gone. Now there'll be no remixing. That's what we've got on tape, what we've got on CD and as digital downloads as of now. That will be it. And Chuck, that's tragic, surely.
No, it's not, because I think most remasters sound awful compared to the originals. Everything
spoken like a true producer right there.
Over limited, over compressed, made to sound like modern dance music. Nah, I always go back to the old CDs. You know what? I don't understand the loudness war, and we're cool with an old Nirvana CD and just turning the volume up.
No, I got you. And again, ears have changed over the years. You know what I mean? And obviously, we've got audiophiles that love vinyl because they love the warmth of vinyl. But the younger generation, and Mike, I'm not picking on you, but what I'm saying is they're used to, and you nailed it, Chuck. It's more of a hi-fi style recording, quote unquote. Now, so you're right. They're going back in and they're tweaking those thick-sounding masters, so you've got more high-end. It is interesting. And I mean, Mike, do you have vinyl?
I was going to say, you do realise mine is the generation of the vinyl hipster, right?
That is correct.
I was going to say, I think we buy more vinyl than your generation now at this point, Sony. Unless I'm mistaken.
Right now, I'm looking at a new Walker for myself. So vinyl's completely out of the question, mate. It's I've been in this business far too long. But I mean, look, the thing is with Universal, they're already starting to cover their asses. I actually saw yesterday in one of the papers that Courtney Love, and you know that she loves a fight. I mean, I love that first Hole album, but this girl loves a scrap. So she's not only arguing now, saying I'm coming after Universal for Nirvana. Apparently, the Hole masters, they're gone. from the fire as well. So this girl's got two reasons. She's got a right and a left hook swinging. I mean, we all know Courtney Love loves a bit of a fight. There's going to be Hole. There's going to be a lot of other bands that are going to come out that are absolutely going to sue Universal Music Group's ass. Anybody?
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, it's a free opportunity to make yourself relevant again if you've not been for a while.
Nice.
Not being overly harsh.
That's a good call. You're right.
But beyond that, at the end of the day, I'm sure this must have been insured for a fortune for the value of the masters. They'll have been paid out for that. It must have been. This is the States, man. They insure everything.
Well, you are correct.
And the bands who haven't made a dime in 50 years are all of a sudden going to make money again.
Yeah, well, and you see, and fire is good. No, it's not. Sorry.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like you said, a lot of this stuff is going to be backed up elsewhere. The copies are going to exist digitally. It reminds me of kind of the MySpace thing that we saw ages ago, but the difference is people are never getting that back. Now, is it as much of a tragedy for music? No. Is it probably going to hurt those people who lost their high school band's recordings more than the artist who already probably has 1 million copies of their album somewhere in their garage? Well, that's a different question.
Well, Mike, you're the MySpace generation. Did you record and upload?
Yeah, I lost all the stuff that I was in when we were kids. It's a bit, slightly disappointing. I think I've got some of the stuff on CDs kicking around elsewhere, but there's stuff that we did, full UK tours on that just doesn't exist anymore now.
I'm a true believer, and forgive me if I'm wrong, guys. I mean, maybe you feel the same way, but when I performed for a number of years, right, and I'd walk up stage going, Jesus, I was great tonight, and you see the videos, and I'm like, holy Jesus, and I was atrocious. Now sometimes the memory is better than the actual reality of it all. So, with regards to some of that earlier MySpace stuff, I think that it's actually interesting. Maybe the memories are better than the actual.
In many cases, I'd be inclined to agree with you. I think every now and again, talking from my own experiences, me and the guys you'd go have a listen through, and you would go on the MySpace to do it because, like I said, who actually holds on to CDs anymore? And some of the stuff actually was all right. But you could tell the stuff that we'd made when we were 16 versus what we made when we were 18, Right. And that when we'd gone and paid £100 for a day in the studio versus, £200 for a day in the studio. And when we were, playing on our baby's first drum kit kind of thing versus we've gone and bought some actual equipment.
But that's all the natural progression of a band.
Yeah, that's part of the memory, man. That's the other thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, funny thing is that when that MySpace thing happened, I actually had a few bands contact me and like, hey, do you still have all of our stuff archived in the studio? And I'm like, nope.
And here's the thing. I mean, that stuff in Universal, that was brick and mortar, right? It was the original tapes, and good, bad, or indifferent, there they are. You can go in, you can touch those Frank Sinatra tapes, and whether you never touch them, whether you never re-record them again and do, as we were talking earlier on, hi-fi mixes, blah blah blah, they were there. They were legit. It was the brick and mortar. In this era of downloads are king. Is there any need for that anymore? As you were saying, Chuck, I mean, does it matter once you've got them quote unquote on tape, then onto digital recordings? In fact, a lot of bands don't even bother with tape. Bands like Tool, Perfect Circle, they're Pro Tools bands. They don't go to tape.
Nobody goes to tape anymore. I mean, we sold the tape machines in our studio. I mean, it's a cost thing. Tape's very expensive to record to now. And,
plus you've got to be tweaking it all the time.
Yeah, and most bands, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. Most bands are not capable of recording the tape because they're not rehearsed enough.
Oh, Jesus, here he goes. and I happen to agree with you, but explain that to the listening audience.
Because music is so different now. Bands, man, how do I put this nicely?
I'll say for you, cut and paste.
Yeah, I mean, it's the C&P world. I call it all the time.
Yeah.
Let's take 20. I mean, even if we were to go to tape and treat it like we make a digital recording today.
Yeah.
I mean, drummer will do 5, 6, 8, 10 takes. In the tape days, or going to multi-track tape, you get 3 songs on a reel. So now you're talking a reel's $400, $450. Now you're talking about to record one song and have multiple takes. You're talking about $2,000 in tape. that's most bands' budget for a full EP.
That's right.
So, I mean, and I don't think a lot of bands are capable of coming in and knocking it out. It's one thing to hire Kenny Aronoff to come in on drums and the first take is perfect, and he's rehearsed and he knows his craft. I think a lot of bands don't spend enough time. I get bands all the time that are like, "Hey, we would love to record the tape," and I'm like, the first question to them is, "How many days a week do you guys practice?" "Oh, maybe once."
Oh,
no,
well.
you can't do it. You're not rehearsed enough to play live.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard that, but I got an email come in right in the middle of that conversation, right in the middle of your explanation there, Chuck. And it was from a younger band turning around saying, "Hey, less of the cut and paste talk." Well, I'm sorry, kids. It is the truth.
The thing is, as well, let's look at the positive on this, is that it does open up recording to so many musicians that would not have realistically been able to do it in the past. I mean,
let me counter that, Mike. There's a lot of people who shouldn't be making music.
It's right.
This is true. This is true. But I'm talking about, like talking about the stuff that I made as a teenager. Yeah, would I say that it's good enough of a release quality? God, no. But is it something that I'm glad I did? Well, hell yeah. So this is the thing, is that, okay, depending on which price bracket studio you're in, it can be really frustrating, I suppose, if you're in the bracket where, you've got the guys that have rehearsed, 3 times a week and then, every day coming into the studio and they're good. And they've, saved up to go to a decent studio, but it's also in the same price bracket that mum and dad might just chuck some money at their kid for, the birthday, and the parents might basically sponsor them through, and they might suck. Yeah, that must be really frustrating to be producing around that sort of price area. But in general, so many musicians actually having their opportunity to create something is fantastic, despite there, of course, being some negatives to the industry at large. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, you get bands that never would have existed if it wasn't for modern studio techniques. I mean, take something like Enter Shikari, for example. They were self-funded. They had, #1 album in the UK.
Well, here's the thing, and point taken, Mike. The one thing that, let's call it Logic Pro X, right? So the brand new version of Logic, which is $300 maybe, and comes with everything. You can make any old tat sound fantastic. And the one shining thing that has happened with the ability to make recordings at home is a real song always shines through. So everybody's got the ability now to write. Everybody's got the ability to make these recordings. We should be flooded with hit after hit after hit after hit. And the bottom line is the talent still has to be there. Do you know what I mean? It's the rich kid who can afford to buy everything. He bought the football kit. He bought the ball. He got his own pitch. He's still a crap football player. You can't buy the talent. But what it's allowing people to do is actually to make music. And hey, my taste isn't particularly everybody else's taste, but the talent will always shine through. Chuck, what do you think to that, mate?
I think so. I mean, I think one of the problems, I guess, since we've now deviated this discussion to this stuff, I think some of the filters are gone.
Yeah.
The record companies were the ultimate coffee filter. I think there's so many people being inundated with music. It's a negative. It's a positive that now a lot of people can make music and get it out.
Yeah.
But I also think that the filtration system is gone, so we're being bombarded with tons of crap. So, I mean, I think we're working this out and trying to figure out how people can decipher crap. But, I think it's also lowered the bar. Mediocrity is the new great.
No, and I'm gonna throw this out at both of you. Some of the music that I've listened to by people that have bought Logic, and it sounds fantastic until you actually start listening to the song and it's garbage. I've listened to some of this stuff, and quite frankly, I need a drink to get through it. I say a drink, boys, because this is my segue to the fact that how many more artists, and I'm begging for somebody give me an answer to this, are going to release their own crappy beer, wines, and spirits? Please help me out here. It's never ending.
So I take it you're referring to the Slipknot whiskey that came out earlier today, I believe, right? When we're recording this.
So you haven't tried it, right?
I'm going to take a pass from my recent experience with everything else that I've tried that's come from an artist. I mean, the Trooper beer from Maiden's okay, but I mean, in general, this stuff has been pretty poor. It's getting to you're right. It's getting to a ridiculous point. I mean, what is it? It's like, who hasn't got a beer these days? And we're not just talking about everything from the bigger bands. We're not just talking about AC/DC and Metallica, who have two now, I believe, because they released another one in January, didn't they? Yeah. Everything down to sort of like your Opeths and stuff like that. And I get it. Look, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and the whole.
Cash is king.
Hey, man, they're diversifying. They're not making money selling music anymore.
Well, so it kind of ties into the last conversation, doesn't it, as well?
Capitalizing on their name. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm looking at a list. I mean, you got Trooper beer, AC/DC beer, Motorhead whiskey, Metallica Budweiser, Rolling Stones Suntory whiskey, Ozzy Osbourne red wine, Kiss wine, Grateful Dead wine, AC/DC. Whatever the hell this is.
Actually,
AC/DC. Oh, another AC/DC wine. Amon Amarth has their own beer. Yeah. Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze liqueur.
My personal favourite was the Scorpions brought one out in December last year because they're so relevant these days.
I mean, the Police have a wine. I mean, it's
really?
Anthrax Pale Ale.
There's got to be some irony to someone getting a drunk and disorderly if it's from Police wine.
We've got AC/DC Thunderstruck Tequila. Ghost has a wine.
Dude, Kid Rock, badass beer. Come on.
Okay,
Kid Rock, odorous ale.
I'm kind of willing to forgive Kid Rock in that I kind of associate him with blokes in their underwear drinking beer, but maybe that's just the UK perspective.
I would say the best name of all the lagers, I mean, and there's a few of them, is Motorhead Bastards Lager. Come on! I mean, I have no idea if Lemmy had even any part of that prior to his death, but I'll guarantee Motorhead fans are just buying that just for the sake of it. I mean, you buy it and you stick it on the wall. You never drink it. You buy it and you stick it. Why? It's memorabilia. It's Motorhead.
It's like buying a band poster.
That's exactly it. Only if you've had an argument with your missus, you don't rip the poster up. You open the beer and you crack that. But I mean, it's
insane. I'm looking through this list of stuff, and I didn't even Marilyn Manson absinthe, Vince Neil tequila.
I kind of want to try the absinthe, to be fair, just out of sort of morbid curiosity. I mean, absinthe, right? It can't taste much different.
Right, but it doesn't have Marilyn Manson on the front. And I'm sure that if Motley Crue or Vince Neil was to release a beer, it would be full fat. Surely. I'm sorry. Did I just say that? Yeah, I did.
Queen Bohemian Lager. I never even saw most of these.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar, of course, we know about his tequila. Got a White Snake Zinfandel.
What we'll do is we'll do one of these podcasts, and between the three of us, we'll just smash every single one of them and see how the podcast goes.
I'm down. I am down.
I'm actually amazed. I couldn't. I'd have thought Andrew WK would have had something, but I think he's just got a sponsorship deal with Stolly, hasn't he? Which is If anyone's going to have their own alcohol, it should really be him.
Well, talking to Vince Neil, Motley Crue are back on the warpath again. Yet another legal action about to take place from those boys. There's a brand new documentary by the cable company Reels, and I guess they're hammering on the fact that on Vince Neil's departure. Yeah, he's not happy. I mean, Vince Neil. I mean, look, let's face it. This is the same Vince Neil that we saw Nicolas Cage dragging off a girl he was trying to take a picture of him in Las Vegas. He's literally smacked this girl in the face, and Nicolas Cage is saying, "Calm down." The guy's out of control. I mean, forget his eating habits. This boy is a tough nut. You know, he likes to fight. Do you remember back in the late 80s, early 90s when he offered Axl Rose anytime, any place, anywhere? Remember that whole thing?
Yep.
I mean, this boy loves a scrap, but you know, and now
it's interesting because they're talking about, you know, that they're not being portrayed truly.
Come on.
But how do we know? I've heard 4 different stories from the band on what happened to Vince Neil.
Right. Well, you saw The Dirt. What do you think of The Dirt? Good, bad?
It was interesting. I mean, I think it was good. It's cool. It brought some attention to rock and roll, which is needed. But I mean, I thought it was a little cringeworthy at times.
Well, you know, that band turned into a money machine, as we all know. I mean, the tour that never ended, and we all know that they're going to come back. It's a guarantee. We signed a contract saying we would never ever play a gig together as a band. Bullshit. Of course they're going to play. As soon as the cash starts running out, somebody's going to be like, any chance we could do and before you know it, they'll do two reunion gigs at the Whisky because they don't really want anybody to come and see it. And then all of a sudden Motley Crue will be back on the road for the reunion tour. You know,
along with Kiss on their 4th reunion.
Along with Kiss.
Right. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't already announced it after The Dirt. I thought that would have been the purely designed to whet the appetite.
Well, here's the reason why, Mike. And the reason they didn't do that is because they made enough money from merch, back catalogue, and everything else following The Dirt. I mean, every single one of their albums went bang, it went back out again. Because people who actually passed on Motley Crue first time round, you know, it's a statement of intent. The Dirt comes out and people go, oh, okay. Maybe I should give them a listen. So all of a sudden, the back catalogue, here we go again. You know, these guys are making money hand over fist. Nikki Sixx, especially. I mean, that boy is.
They're just bringing their name back into the news.
Yes.
You know, it's just like, okay, let's start a fight with the Reels, and we're going to make a couple album sales. It will pick the name. You know, after the highlight of The Dirt kind of died down, now they're bringing their name back up.
It was. I heard actually an interview with Paul Stanley maybe 2 weeks ago on a station here in the States. By the way, that was probably another email from a kid saying, "Stop it!" Well, anyway, but listening to this Paul Stanley interview, they were talking about the end. Is it called the final? I forgot the name of the tour. What's it called? This Kiss tour. Is it just called the Farewell Tour? I've forgotten.
I don't even know.
Anyway,
I can't remember.
Let's make more Cash Tour. So, so they were interviewing Stanley, and they said, "Well, is this the end?" And his response was actually brilliant. He said, "Listen, I'm 69 years old. I think that's what he was. I'm 69 years old, and I'm on stage still in platforms, giving it everything I've got." He said, "If I was in just a regular rock band wearing jeans and sneakers, I'd be going to all of 79, and point taken. As much as they are a money machine, and, you know, Gene Simmons has no shame. He'll put his name on an ant. He doesn't care as long as it's carrying his name on the back. You know, that crew, him and Stanley, so Stanley and Gene Simmons, they really, they put the M into money. They know how to do this. And why not one last time?
I mean, it's nobody wants to be like slowly going downhill with their stage performance, do they? And like these guys are known for their ridiculous stage performances. It's not like, you're right. It's not like they can just sort of rock up, turn up there in regular gear and just play.
I think they're gonna come to an end though, because I've seen some recent Kiss performances, and Paul's sounding a bit tired. Yeah,
and again, it's that 69 in heels. Any drag queen would have packed it in. 39. It's just that Paul happens to have written a few hits. I mean, I was never a massive fan of Kiss, and I was lucky enough to play a couple of gigs opening up for them a couple of years back. And whether Paul's voice is going or not, and it certainly is, that man, hats off.
Oh, I mean,
he brings it. He's running. Listen, he's taking rock and roll Viagra because there's no way he can do that. And he's clean. He's clean. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. God bless him, man. Hats off to that boy. Anything else? Oh, I tell you what we have got. Let me just have a look at this.
Bad news. Got some sad news. With,
that's so
Megadeth.
That's
Mustaine, man. I mean, you got to look at his history from Metallica and onwards. Getting the boot from Metallica and saying, "I don't care. I formed my own band." God bless him. What's the prognosis there, Chuck? Do we know?
It's not. I mean, he's saying things are going to go forward. I know they just started recording a new record. In fact, there's pictures on Instagram and Twitter of them in the studio, but they've canceled most of the shows.
Oh, right. If he's
because he's going through treatment.
Yeah, they think it's got a 90% success rate, supposedly.
Correct.
At least that's the quote. So, I mean, that's about as good as it gets, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he says, unfortunately, this requires that we cancel most of the shows this year. The mega cruise will still happen.
Oh, really?
With a band it says, and the band will be part of in some form. All dates and information will be updated on their website.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it looks like, 90% success rate on the treatment with the throat cancer.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you can't help but feel that we're being told the whole story behind Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, he's been cancelling left, right, and centre. And, you know, and again, we obviously, and he's from my hometown, Birmingham, we obviously wish him well, but there's been a lot of fallout. I mean, all of the bands that were going out with him on the road, they've obviously...
Well, Megadeth was going to go out.
That's right, Judas Priest. I mean, these bands have just been, sorry guys, we can't do it. Do you think there's more to this Ozzy Osbourne story than there is? Than the letting out. I mean, to me, I love Ozzy, but there have been a couple of times where I thought you got to put a fork in it. He's a fantastic. Look, his legacy is never ending, but there has to be more to this story than him being a little bit offish right now.
I agree. I think there's something there. And which leads us to a whole thing. Everybody's getting older.
That's right. That's right. Even you, Mike.
Yes, even Mike.
Well, the thing is, right, I guess that brings us back to the earlier thing, doesn't it, about there being so much recorded now and whatnot that perhaps there isn't, and that filter isn't there. There aren't as many icons from the younger generation. Because I guess when the industry was a gatekeeper, then whoever came out would have been an icon. But now,
when's the last time we had a David Lee Roth and Axl Rose?
Well, the closest I'd say, Chuck, and I happen to think
Grohl, I guess. Here,
Dave Grohl. That's your that's your boy. That's 3 hours of a guy giving it. But he's not David Lee Roth.
He's the last big rock star. I mean,
Tom York.
But that's Radiohead, man. I mean, I love Radiohead, but that's not a rock star. I mean,
fine.
Who's somebody who goes out there and I mean, I think
the Struts. That's your closest right now.
But you know what? I think the biggest problem is, and I had this discussion with a friend the other day, I think the politically correctness train that's gone through the world right now, I don't know if we can have rock stars anymore.
That's a very, very, very good point.
I mean, David Lee Roth was not a great singer. He wasn't in a great band, but his thing was telling people to fuck off and I forgot the fucking words on the on stage and
he's hashtag #me4 right there.
I mean, somebody like Sebastian Bach back in
Jesus
when he wore the AIDS Kills Fags Dead t-shirt and brought all this attention to himself. And Axl Rose starting concerts at 2 a.m. I know, because I sat there till 2 a.m. That's so un-PC now. I guess Rockstar has to be redefined. Is it Katy Perry? Is it Taylor Swift? Is it Lady Gaga? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wish we had. I don't want to not be politically correct, but some of it really irks me.
Yeah, me too.
But look, I think everybody's in the same camp with that. I think that, nobody likes the tiptoeing around on eggshells ridiculous level that it gets to. Some of it was fine, but here's the thing is as well, you've got to remember, this comes in peaks and troughs as well. Like, you remember the screaming, very Christian conservative right in the early 90s? I do.
Right.
Yeah. That died down, and then we had about 10 years of it all sort of being fine, and then we just got a new version this time. It just happens to be from the other side, and that'll die down in 10 years, and then we'll have a bit of space, and it'll probably happen again.
Yeah. Well, if I can slightly digress, check this out. today, which we didn't announce, is June 18th. Guess whose birthday it is today? Paul McCartney.
Ah.
780. He's 785 today.
I was just gonna say he's got to be past the 500 today.
Dude, I mean, how about that? Also on this day, Dizzy Reed, as in the keyboardist for Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
but
my neighbor.
Man, that's right. I mean, McCartney. I'm actually going to have to look it up now because I can't remember how old he is. It's got to be 72. What do you think, guys?
75.
Let me see. Right. I should be pretending to have my assistant.
This thing is, didn't he die like 20, 30 years ago, you know, if you believe it was 66, wasn't it, the Paul
Holy Jesus. 77!
Oh, wow. But God bless him.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And the reason he hooked up with Lennon is because Lennon was really impressed that Paul could tune a guitar. That right there says it. Oh, it's great. And these guys, between them, invented chords. To this day,
what was the name of the Beatles? What was the name of their band before the Beatles?
The Quarrymen.
Quarrymen, and it was what? Paul, John.
Yeah, and they were playing skiffle stuff. I think Harrison was still in it.
And Harrison too. Yeah, didn't have Ringo.
Yeah, it was like a skiffle band. It's pretty insane, really. But yeah, I mean, you know. And by the way, that meeting with Lennon, July 6th, 1957.
Holy cow. We got some, just to go over some quick stuff, some tour announcement stuff that came out this week. GNR's got American dates.
Yeah.
To their fall tour.
Yeah, Tom York, he's touring without Radiohead, right? He's doing some solo stuff.
Alter Bridge just announced the tour in Europe.
By the way, that Miles Kennedy, does he ever come off tour? He's just finished with Slash.
Yeah, man. All those guys work their asses off. I mean, he's got Slash and Alter Bridge, and then Tremonti's got his solo record.
There you go.
I mean, the drummer, Scott, he's in Projected with the guys in Seven Dust. These guys just work.
Yeah.
Kaiser Chiefs, UK
Back.
tour.
Yeah.
You got Alice in Chains and tour. And Tool are doing Europe.
That'll be a great double bill, by the way.
Yes, it will.
That's a good nostalgic in your face.
Alice in Chains is my favorite.
Yeah, man. I actually, like, just talking of that, the replacing of Lane Stanley. I mean, the new guy they've got, fantastic. And no attitude with him. He just gets up. He knows who was boss. Lane was boss, but he gets up and sings his ass off.
You know, I got in so many arguments with people. Oh, they're trying to replace Lane. You can't replace him. I'm like, no, you can't. And listen, it sounds exactly the same. And I'm like, you know what that proves to you? How much Jerry sang.
That's right.
That's why.
That's right. That's right. And
he sang a lot.
Dude, as far as Cantrell's guitar playing, brilliant. His harmonies and his choice of harmonies were absolutely outstanding. You know, he took it from just being a grunge band to like, oh, shit, you know, where are they going? Fantastic stuff. Brilliant. All right, thanks very much for listening. Thanks from Chuck, Tony, myself, and Mike. Love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come visit us at rockmyworld.com.